Welcome to Dead Dog Media, and today I'm going to be reviewing the cult classic, The Evil Dead, starring Bruce Campbell, written and directed by Sam Raimi, and scored by Joseph LaDuca. I'll be trying to objectively rate individual aspects of the film, and these ratings will average out for the film's objective score at the end, and then I'll also rate it emotionally with a vibe rating at the end as well. If you haven't watched the movie yet and want to form your own opinion before hearing ours, or just don't want spoilers, you can hit the subscribe button real quick and come back later and hear what we have to say. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. Not every review makes it to YouTube, and reviews can be written months before the video comes out, so if you want to see more and early content, head over to our website, www.deaddog.media for more. All our links will be in our description. Every rating in my head starts at a 5 out of 10, and it will move up or down based on the content. So if something is rated at a 5 out of 10, it means nothing was good enough to bring the score up, but also nothing was bad enough to bring the score down. The first aspects we're going to cover are basically summed up with writing. So, the first aspect is the plot. The plot for me is a 7 out of 10. There are obviously the typical horror movie plot conveniences and tropes, but overall for a movie that started so much of what is now common in horror movies, the plot actually surprised me in a good way quite a bit. The notion of having a demon locked in the basement but it can crack the door open and interact with you while you're processing the situation is such a cool concept. The amount of times they tried to not kill their friends thinking maybe they'll come back, Ash not being able to swing the axe at first, the demons turning his girlfriend back and forth, it's all really good writing and keeps you hooked in every scene. The next aspect is pacing, and for pacing, for me, it's a 9 out of 10. It doesn't take long for things to start being interesting at all. Arguably, from the first shot of the movie establishes that it knows what you want to see. We get introduced to our characters and their dynamics in the car on the way to the haunted cabin, and from the moment we roll up to the cabin, we start getting what we're here for. Creepy suspense with promise of action and horror. And the movie not only delivers that, but delivers it over a huge chunk of the movie and forces our characters to make important decisions throughout. I really was expecting this movie to be the type of horror movie where nothing happens really until the third act, and that's when everything happens all at once and it's not really paced out too well, since this movie is what started a lot of horror movie tropes, but that's not at all what we got. Next for writing is the characters, and the characters for me are a 7 out of 10. The character work is actually decent. They are mostly typical horror movie characters, but the asshole jock doesn't just get killed right away so the audience cheers. He gets proven wrong, has to deal with the horrors of the situation, tries to abandon the wounded and then gets wounded himself, then dies a slow, painful death while Ash is still fighting for his life. Really good development here. Next for writing is the dialogue, and the dialogue here is a 5 out of 10. Not enough good to give it a higher score, but the good that we do get outweighs the bad that we get, and so I'm just keeping it at a 5. The next category I'm going to go with is acting, and for the main cast acting, I'm going to call it a 6 out of 10. These are clearly not A-list actors, but they are doing pretty well most of the time, especially when possessed by the demons. How much of the acting issues I can see people complain about comes from the campy writing and directing style of Sam. So I'm also not gonna knock the actors for Sam Raimi's style. The next category we're gonna go over is visuals. And now the first aspect of visuals is going to be the camera. For the camera, I have an 8 out of 10. The camera movement and angles contribute so much to how much this movie holds your attention. There's a lot of great and creepy camera work in this, and even when it's something unexpected and unique, it enhances the storytelling as opposed to taking you out of the story. The next aspect under visuals is set design, and for set design, it's a 9 out of 10. I wouldn't step foot in this cabin in broad daylight with SEAL Team 6 in front of me, so mission accomplished. It's also an amazing feat to have such an interesting and attention-grabbing movie have like 3 sets in total, which is probably why the sets were so good. They had more time to work on each individual set. Next up for visuals is the special effects. Now, for special effects, I'm going with a 4 out of 10. Sam Raimi bought that fog machine and he was gonna fucking use it. And that's not a reason why it's a 4 out of 10. I just definitely needed to bring that up because I thought it was hilarious. But I don't take the budget or special effects team size into account. I only take whether the effect serves the storytelling or is a disservice to the storytelling. And while they did an outstanding job for the size of the movie, there was too much that took me out of the movie. The cuts to stop motion, the sticks being moved toward the camera, that's why it's a 4. Next on visuals is gonna be makeup. The makeup is an 8 out of 10. The demons were terrifying and I'd piss myself and die of a heart attack if I saw someone that looked like that. There were moments where the makeup was falling off, or you could clearly see the makeup line, which loses the points here to not make it like a 10 out of 10, but Other than that, the makeup was terrifying and looked really good. The next category I'm going to go over is the audio, and the first aspect of audio is the score. For score, I'm going with a 5 out of 10. I don't think I thought about the score a single time, which means it didn't stand out in a good or a bad way, so just a 5. And the next aspect is going to be sound design. Sound design, I'm going with a 7 out of 10. There were moments I heard footsteps or impacts that really made me feel what the movie wanted me to feel, which is creeped out or shocked. So for that, the movie gained some points with sound design. That brings the overall movie rating to a 6.82 out of 10, a very solid rating for a very solid and entertaining movie. I see why it's a cult classic. It's very stylistic, and the directing and writing is very stylistic and unique. It's definitely an experience, and it clearly resonates with people. For me, this movie has me hooked for what's next, and really that's one of the indicators the movie did its job well. You want to see more. Now for the vibe rating. The vibe here is a 9 out of 10. Definitely a very fun experience and well worth the watch. Now being able to say I've watched it and discuss it with people who may or may not like it and its status as a cult classic contributes to the vibe because the movie has a sense of community to it. It's not just a movie you experience yourself and then never talk about again. It's you think about things to talk about while you're watching the movie, things that you've heard on the internet or seen on the internet too, which adds to the vibe, adds to the emotional investment. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave a comment on your favorite or least favorite part of the movie, and if you agree or disagree with anything in this movie. Also, feel free to let me know what movie, series, or album you would like me to review next. Thanks.